video. So I've noticed a large increase of newer players coming to save the world, and that would be my assumption from the popularity Battle Royale has created. So I just wanted to make a little video here to all the new players watching, just of 5 of my most general tips that I would have liked to know as I started playing this game. So without wasting any time, let's just get right into tip number 1. So the first tip on this list is, I know a lot of players are coming in here because their friends told them, hey, you can earn a ton of V-Bucks really fast. And the only reason that would be true is because they had a higher level player like myself, or even higher, carry them through a large majority of the beginning game. Save the World isn't really a fast-paced game for V-Bucks. It's kind of a slow, tedious process. There's a few different ways you can get them at low levels, and it's honestly the fastest, but after you're done with that, getting the rest is really slow. So when you first start out the game, you'll be in Stonewood. You'll complete your home base Storm Shield 1, and just move on from there. So what lower level players are doing is finding a high level friend of theirs who's already played, or somebody from like a Xbox or PC community. And what they're doing is they're going through and completing their all 10 of their storm shields right off the base game, which I don't believe is possible anymore, because from what I had checked out trying to help some lower level players myself, is that you now have to complete certain quests from your base quest line, which I can't show you here because I'm already almost done with it. My quest lines are just one solid quest now, rather than one actual string of completable quests. So they're going through and completing all 1 through 10, and every time you can complete a storm shield, you get a base 100 V-Bucks. And then completing that quest farther down the line, you get that 100 that it says it gives you. So you're basically getting double for what you had thought, which I don't believe is possible anymore. I now think you can't go through and complete the storm shield without finishing up to that quest from the main quest line. But the other ways to get V-Bucks are, you'll have daily quests, which can range from 50, 60, 75 to 100 V-Bucks, depending on what the mission may be. Mine's to, what is that there? Destroy 2 industrial power transformers in successful missions, which is incredibly easy, and that's a free 50 V-Bucks. And the third way, and I think the only other way, is from getting them from your daily rewards. Like when I reach day 231 in 2 days here, I will get another 150 V-Bucks. I've probably got close to 7,000 the whole time I've played this game. And that's from completing the home base storm shields through Plankerton and Canny. Not done with Twine yet though. I've only got up to 8 from there, so I only have technically 200 more V-Bucks I could possibly get from doing really fast base game work. So the second tip I want to move into here is trading. As a low-level player, and probably even still as a high-level player, I run into missions where I'll join in, and either somebody with no microphone will sprint over to me, or if they're playing an Outlander, dash over to me, wrap me in a box, and build a second one off to the side to form a trading box. And he'll hold edits on the wall, and he'll drop a bunch of guns, and then pick them back up, indicating he wants to trade. Now, I'll tell you right now, 90% of the players you meet in this game that do that, or plug in their mic and say, hey, does anybody want to trade, be a scammer. They are going to either pick up their gun when you go to run through the arch that they open for the trading box, pick up their gun, dash over, and pick up yours. Or they're going to ask you to drop first, you're going to drop them something, and then they're just not going to drop anything. Or the third, and honestly the most annoying thing, is when they're talking about a certain gun and you're like, that's really cool, I'd like that. Because 90% of the time they're going to offer you a 130, which is a high-level gun that you shouldn't be able to get or craft until way later in the game. Probably not, depending on how fast and how often you play, a week to a month of time. Because, like I said, Save the World is a very slow and very time-consuming game. Each mission you play typically takes up to 20 minutes. And you have to do quite a few of those if you want to get anywhere. But as a low-level player, trading is just not worth it. You're going to get scammed more often than not, and you're going to end up losing the guns you worked hard to craft or make. And I've noticed, and I'm really upset that I couldn't actually find any footage of this, but you are going to 9 times out of 10 lose all your stuff from somebody dropping like a power level 12 or a 26 weapon when you actually did drop them a 130 or a 77 or 106 that you had. So my biggest tip is just don't trade at all. Focus on yourself, ignore the other players, focus on working on the mission for the rewards that you want to level yourself or the guns or traps or melee weapons you want. Because I remember when I first started playing, I don't know if I have the schematic, I do. I had just got my first legendary schematic from a base upgrade llama, because before they weren't like the X-ray llamas, where you can see through them and you know what you're about to get. And I had worked really hard to grind out for the V-Bucks for this. It was, I think, a 250 llama. It was, I want to say, a triple llama. And the gun that I had finally managed to get, which I thought was the coolest thing ever, was a backbreaker. And I had taken it up to power level 26, because before, when you upgraded guns, there was no, and I can't show you here, but if I do it on this, I couldn't just level up from 1 to 10 immediately. We had to go through and level up each level individually. And it was a super long and boring process, because at low level, grinding for schematic XP is a struggle. And I had just managed to get a power level 26 backbreaker. It had, I think, the same rolls as this: 1 gray, 3 green, and 1 blue. Don't remember anything about the gun, but all I knew is that I had managed to get a legendary gun, and I just felt like the hottest shit in the game. Like, having a legendary weapon was the coolest thing ever. And I immediately loaded into a mission and crafted one, and some guy saw me crafting them, so he built a box around me, and I knew he wanted to trade. And I was like 5-6 days into the game, so I didn't know anything about this. And so he held on the wall, he dropped a bunch of guns, picked them back up, let go of the wall, and shot at the floor in my corner, indicating he wanted me to drop something. So I dropped the one backbreaker I had, because getting resources as a new player without knowing how the game actually works is a bit of a pain. So I dropped my gun, thinking, oh cool, I'm gonna trade this backbreaker for another cool gun. And he drops one in the corner. I couldn't see what it was, because he was standing in front of it. And then he walked up to the front of the arch there, so I did too, because I thought he was going to open it. He opened it, turned around, picked up his gun, and then dashed over and picked up mine, and immediately left the mission. So I lost the first legendary I ever crafted, because I didn't understand how the game worked, or how the other players worked. Because, unfortunately, there is a massive amount of toxicity in this game, from both low-level and especially high-level players. It's kind of like the US's class war. The low-level players all want the high-level players' stuff, because they don't actually want to grind through the game or play it. They're only in it for trading only in it for honestly zero enjoyment. I really don't understand what the excitement behind trading is. Sure, there's a lot of cool guns in the game, or cool materials, like the 6-star materials that are no longer in the game, such as... Oh, I have them on me. Like Moonglow Crystal, Rainbow Crystal, Spectralite Ore, Vendor mechanical parts, or Honey. And people are going to offer this kind of stuff, but most likely you're going to end up losing whatever you drop. Unless you're fast enough. I don't play with very high sensitivity because it's a casual game for me, so I end up losing more often than not. But I would honestly recommend just avoid trading the best you can. Find somebody who you enjoy playing with. You know, build some bonds with some other players and, you know, make it available to trade. So the third tip here I have is farming. Farming is a very slow and tedious process in this game. It's how you get the majority of your crafting materials, like Bright Core, Sunbeam, Obsidian, Shadow Shard, Malachite, Silver, and Copper, along with all of your mechanical parts or twines, and along with adhesive resin, blast powder, and coal, duct tape, just your basic crafting needs for whether it be traps, guns, melee weapons, or whatever else, some magic thing you can't actually craft in the game. Farming is very difficult, especially at low level, because you're typically only going to have heroes. You're only going to have a low level Outlander, which, like Trailblazer AC here, you can get from completing side quests from your challenge tabs. And all Outlanders have this ability called Anti-Material Charge. It's basically a little punching motion they do that allows them to instantly break things and get the materials from them. But you're basically only going to have your pickaxe, and you're constantly going to be hacking away at rocks, trees, metal structures, cars, whatever it may be. And it's going to be a very slow and very long grind until you can get certain Outlanders that give you special, more useful perks. Like Pathfinder Jess is a base game legendary, and she gives you a perk that increases pickaxe damage by a lot. Or the birthday event's coming up here, and I think it's July 24th. You'll have a chance for getting like Archaeologist, or I don't have him, but if I go to the collection book here, I believe he's Event People. Where is Historic? Yep. Fossil Southey is one of the most useful Outlanders in the game if you can manage to get 2 dinosaurs for the Blast from the Past ability. Because he generates 4 energy per second, and typically Outlanders cost 50. I think it's close to, if not exactly, 50 energy per anti-material charge. And there are certain heroes, like Archaeologist here, who... Let me go in here. Her strike cost is more efficient by 28%. So I typically, without anybody else on my team, get about 5 punches out of using Archaeologist, which is nice, especially if you compare it with, I believe Clip is the only Outlander to do this, but her High Caliber Harvest has a 33% chance to drop additional materials. So running Archaeologist as your main, with Clip as your one of your support members, with Long Arm of the Law, which you get from, I believe, also getting Archaeologist, allows you to punch farther, punch more often, and punch slightly faster with higher material chance drops. But things like this won't be available for a very long time. So what I would recommend doing is putting yourself on private, and then just going into, assuming you're in Stonewood or Plankerton, going in and just finding... I typically like to do the grassland or the forest missions, because they typically are much more rugged terrain, and they have a ton of caves for materials like coal, silver, copper, and then just run around, and if you see anything metal like a electrical box, punch that too or pickaxe it. But farming materials at a low level is a very slow process, and honestly, I wouldn't say it's very worth your time, because the game at the start doesn't take long to move up from 1-star materials to 2-star. So I would honestly say I wouldn't waste your time trying to farm right off the bat and build up a ton of crafting materials, because at a very rapid rate you're going to move on to 2-star, which is silver and simple mechanical parts. So when it comes to farming, I would honestly just hold off until you're either at a 2-star level or a 3-star level for malachite. But building material is another thing. You get brick from rocks, you get wood from trees, and you get metal from breaking anything metal. Now, I would highly recommend farming up a ton of building material, because I'm pretty sure when you start the game, your max limit to hold is 1,000. But that rapidly goes up till you can hold 5,000 of each material. I would recommend farming up building material over normal material, and then just throwing it in your storage, because building material is going to come greatly in handy as you get farther and farther into the game. For doing missions or your storm shields, you're going to need a ton of metal or brick. Wood's not really as useful, but it's still up there. You use it mainly for transportation, getting up cliffs and whatnot. But I wouldn't really recommend spending all of your time farming for going through and finding every copper ore deposit on a map, or breaking every car for as many rusty mechanical parts as you can find, because very rapidly you're going to be moving into 2-star materials. I'd roughly say only takes less than a day, because going through the Stonewood missions is very easy, even at low level, until you hit about power level 19 missions. Those are where you'll start getting 2-star, and the struggle gets a little bit up there if your guns and materials aren't really ready for what you're about to move on to. But that's what we're going to cover in the next tip here. So, for the next tip, leveling up your guns. Now, your guns aren't going to be super important at low level. You'll mainly be relying on your hero abilities like Soldier's lefty and righty, or miniguns, or Constructor's bull rush to just hold back and stall husks. But when it comes to leveling up your guns, at a low level, you're probably only going to be able to take a level 12, whether it be legendary, epic, rare, or whatever tier schematic you have, and upgrade it to from 12 to 26, which is the max level you can, until you get like certain, for traps it takes trap design, for guns it takes weapon schematics, and for survivors it takes training manuals, along with evolution materials such as pure drops of rain, and you have to get it to that certain level in the first place. And I remember at Stonewood, it is a bit of a pain to actually get schematic XP, because completing missions like this, I think you'll only get like 400 to 800 hero XP from it. So at the start it's a bit of a slow grind, but if you can manage to find 4 people, or it would be 3 other people in a match to help you get through, I would definitely keep an eye out for the 4 times schematic XP or hero or survivor XP missions in Stonewood, because I believe it takes you from 400 to like 2 or 3,000 schematic XP, which is really nice, because if you're able to farm it over and over again, you just slowly start building that up and building that up until your gun is at a decent level where you're doing enough damage to get by without an issue. And then those 4 times missions will keep reappearing as you go farther through like Stonewood and Plankerton, and it'll just keep giving you even more and more. And you'll get the evolution materials you need to upgrade your guns as either mission alerts, or from killing bosses in missions, or honestly just leveling yourself up from playing missions. Like my account level is 310, I'm at max level. and I've probably gotten quite a few of the evolution materials I use out of that. But you can also find missions that give them as a base, like lightning in a bottle here is just a base reward for this mission, where you can farm it over and over and get little bit by little bit for exactly what you need. Because farming evolution materials in bulk isn't really available until end game. But when it comes to leveling up your guns, the first thing you're going to need is that schematic XP and evolution material, which is typically just pure drops of rain. Those are like the 1-star evolution material. And they're really hard to get at a low level, but it does become a lot more worth it the farther you get. So, like, let me just pick one of these things. I'll go with the Siege Breaker here. When you level it up, let's say just for one level, it costs 300 schematic XP. That's not bad. That's essentially what you're getting for one mission. But then as you get to level 3, it costs 900, so that's 2 missions you had to do to get it. And then 4, that's 4 missions you had to do to get it. And then it just keeps going up and keeps going up and keeps going up. But I would definitely recommend farming until you have a power level 26 main weapon, because those will honestly be doing the more damage you can. Or I shouldn't say more, I meant most. But you'll basically be getting the biggest bang for your buck. Now, one thing I would highly recommend is low-level players are constantly going to be freaking out or trying to get 130 guns, the highest level you can get. You'll be one-shotting everything, it'll be so cool, but it's honestly just not worth it. It really just distracts you from the game when you're able to just cheese everything. And then once those 130s are gone, you're left with nothing except begging or trying to scam other people for them. And then you're really just struggling to get by. What I definitely recommend doing is not focusing on getting your guns past level 26 and so on and so forth. What I would recommend doing is working on the rolls of your guns. If you go to upgrade, you can modify the perks and see I can take this gray roll to a green roll because I have 100 uncommon perk up with 45 reperk. These are just basic things, basic rewards you can get from normal missions. And I would highly recommend focusing on leveling up the rolls of your guns, or whatever guns you're going to use, to all blue, right off the bat. I wouldn't focus on getting it up past level 26 to 35, and then eventually up to 51 at max level for 2-star, when you could be doing even more damage if you wanted from just your base rolls on your gun. Now, there are 6 rolls to almost everything in the game. You have just, I believe it's 4 or 5 just basic random perks, like reload speed, critical rating, critical damage, regular damage, and fire rate for most weapons in the game. Now, almost every weapon is going to come with a random element on it, like my Siege Breaker here has physical. But there's fire, which deals more damage to nature enemies. There's nature, which deals more damage to water enemies. And there's water, which deals more damage to fire enemies. Now, the individual rolls here are nice, because you can do more damage to certain enemies. But as you get farther into the game, and not much farther after Stonewood, you start running into elemental husks, and you might not have a gun with fire, nature, or water to combat the different element bonuses. Like, let's say you have a fire siege breaker and you're trying to fight fire husks. You're going to be doing significantly less damage. What I recommend is saving up enough fire up, amp up, and I think it's called water up or frost up, and putting energy on your guns, because how energy works is it deals, I'd say, a mild to moderate more damage portion to everything in the game, whether it be a normal husk or an elemental husk. Energy is honestly the prime. It deals the majority of the damage to all of them with a small portion missing, and it's just overall really nice because you don't have to worry about swapping guns depending on what mission you're playing. Or physical itself is really nice because it gives you the extra 32% damage, which for certain enemies can be a massive boost. But I would highly recommend just focusing on leveling up your gun's rolls, because the farther you get, you'll see uncommon, rare, and epic perk up, and then eventually gold. But just, I'd say take it at a slow pace, level up your guns as you go, and just focus on increasing the rolls rather than getting it to 130. There's no point in rushing through a slow game. Like, this game is going to be a lot of your time, it's going to be a grind, but overall, it's going to be really fun. But if you're just rushing to get to the end, or get to the 130s, so that way you can do trading, or just so you can feel overpowered, it's honestly just a waste of your time, and you're going to end up making a lot of mistakes on the way. But that'll bring us into our fifth tip here. So tip number 5 is focus on increasing your power level. Your power level is, let me go to the command here, it is in your survivors, it's in your survivor squads, it's the boost you're getting from all of these people in here, which at the start of the game, yours isn't going to look anything like mine. You'll have gray or green survivors all throughout your squads, and you'll have most of your slots locked. But what you can do to get around that is, as you go through the game, you'll start seeing missions for, like, let me go back to Stonewood here. There is missions for, like, these 2 blue survivors. If you're just starting out the game, and you just got to being able to see power level 5 missions, and you hop into this, chances are the people you're playing with are much higher than you, and they're basically going to be carrying you. So that's free survivors, which you can then level up using survivor XP, along with oh no training manuals yet, never mind, that's for a higher level. But yeah, that brings up another topic, training manuals. See, like, my survivors are at 3 and 4 star, where I want to take them up even higher. And later in the game, it's going to cost you a lot to get these up even higher. Training manuals are the most difficult thing to get in the game for your survivor squads, which you'll notice as you get some of these survivors up to 3 and 4 star. But in order to really boost your power level, you want to focus on getting the best survivors you can. At low level, I would focus on getting purples and blues. Don't worry about buying llamas for gold or trying to do higher missions for gold survivors. It's honestly just going to waste your time. You're going to get burnt out, and you're just going to get tired of playing the game. But what you want to focus on doing is getting a solid base across the board of blue, and then purple, and then gold survivors. And you won't have very many slots available at the start of the game, but as you go through and complete the main storyline, and do your Stonewood Storm Shields and your Plankerton Storm Shields up to Canny and Twine, you'll unlock a bunch more slots and allow yourself to hold even more survivors to boost your power level. And boosting your power level makes certain missions easier. Like, I'm a power level 124, and I can go through up to power level 116 missions, and they're considered easy by the game for me. And I'd have to say I agree with that. But what you want to do is just focus on, once you actually manage to get some survivors, level them up to like 1 star, and then if you're able to, evolve them up to 2 and 3 and 4. Just max out your survivors, so that way that'll increase your level, causing you to do even more damage without leveling up your guns even, if you were to just completely not focus on that and put all your evolution materials like your drops of rain into your survivors here. And that would honestly be an identical move to boosting up your guns level, and I'd honestly consider it the better option of the two. And then another way to increase your power level that a lot of players like myself forget to do is go to your research here and level these up as high as you possibly can. Just keep logging in, keep collecting your research points, and just keep throwing them right into your levels here. Because with every level, I don't know if you saw up at the top there, my power level slightly increased from each level I just put into my research points. The max level for research is, I believe, 120 for each one of the fort stats. And once they reach 120, I believe I want to say it's a boost of either 15 or 20 base levels, which is really nice. Like, if I were to max out my research right now, I'd go from a 124 to probably either a 130 or a 135, which would make a majority of other missions completely easy. I would definitely recommend just taking the time, logging in every day, even if you don't want to play. Just put your research points in, hop off, or just collect them, and then, bulk them up for when you're able to buy the higher level fort stats. Like right now, a lot of mine cost 4,200 or 3,600. My resistance, only at level 22, cost me 900 because I don't use shields very often with the Blast from the Past perk you get from the dinosaurs. But leveling up your power level is honestly better than leveling up your guns. Because whereas, yes, your guns are doing your damage, if you level up your research, and increase your power level, your offense, you'll be doing even more damage without leveling up your guns. Like, this increases your weapon damage by 308% for me, and then the people in my party, anyone I'm playing with, also gets a 104% boost, which is really nice. So I would focus heavily on just going through, playing the lower level missions, collecting up some survivors, leveling up, and honestly just enjoy yourself. Don't focus on grinding too hard because it's going to be very slow and you're going to waste a lot of time and you're going to get burned out of the game. That's what I did when I first started playing. I played for probably 8 months and then I stopped for like an entire year and came back to the game. And overall, it got boring. It was like a waste of my time. But focus on leveling up your power level, focus on leveling up your guns, and if there's one thing you should never, ever do, especially at low level, is play with the collection book. Like, my collection book here is heavily full and overall a decent level for where I'm at in the game. Your collection book essentially it doesn't level you up, but it's a way to get really good rewards for almost nothing, and all you're doing is throwing everything you own into the collection book. Now, what I would recommend is waiting until you have duplicates of each item in the game. Like, wait until you have 2 of Support Specialist Hawk, or whatever it may be. When it comes to green and blue heroes, or guns, gray, green, blue, those are fine. Throw those in the collection book. Get those decent little levels for yourself. That's really nice. Those boosts really help you at a low level. But one thing you never want to do, is play with the personnel. And I tell you, never, ever throw survivors in the collection book until you're at the next step. Like, do not put these common survivors in here until you're at an uncommon level. Or do not throw the uncommon in until you're at a rare. And never, ever throw your legendary survivors in the collection book until you have either an excess amount or the ones that you want that make the best squad possible for you. That's just advice for low or high level players, because it's really just going to limit you later on. Like, when I first started playing, I was like a power level 69. I'd never really played with the collection book, didn't know anything about it, and I made the mistake of throwing all of my survivors in here, thinking, oh cool, I'm gonna put them in there. It's like a regular collection, I have them, this just records them. No. What it does is it takes them away from you and locks them inside the collection book to where you can no longer use them. They no longer support you, you get the rewards that you put into leveling them up, and they are gone. And each one of them will cost, whoops, not level up, they will cost 20 V-Bucks for anything you put in here to pull it back out. And at that point, you're wasting V-Bucks, and you're wasting your own time. Because what's the point of putting something in here if you're just going to need it later? Because then you're just blowing through everything you have, whether it be evolution materials, or not evolution materials, but like schematics, XP, or training manuals from leveling up survivors. And you're just going through wasting all those V-Bucks that you were trying to get in the first place. So I would highly recommend never playing with the collection book unless it's for just excess heroes or excess weapons, or if you go through and purchase up some of the event schematics or event llamas that are in here, and you just get some random stuff for that. Because honestly, especially with the rat event going on, you are going to get an absolute ton of duplicates. Like, I'll open up 2 llamas here just to show you. I got like a purple woofer and a purple mic drop. That's actually the one time I haven't got a duplicate in one. But if I go to my schematics here, I should have, unless I actually already went through and recycled them, which I did. I went through and cleaned them out probably a day before this video. I had 4 copper woofers of the gold variant. I had 4, the ear splitter. And you just rack up a whole bunch of them. But on the other hand, it's really nice because if you recycle them, you get weapon designs and schematic XP. So doing those low-level missions for the 50 tickets on repeat, just going through, picking up all the ones that you can, and buying one of these llama, either collecting it, or if you have the extra, recycling it, at a low level that is really going to boost you, because it'll give you the majority of the materials you need, except for the evolution materials, to level up your guns, or level up your other people. But, honestly, I would avoid it for the most part. Just never throw anything in the collection book until you get a duplicate, because you're just going to be going through and wasting a lot of your own time. After I had thrown everything in here, I dropped from a power level 69 to like a power level, it was like 24. And at that point, I was just so angry, I quit playing the game. That's when I took my year-long break. And then I did some research on my time off. I went through, I figured it out, and that's when I decided to go back and get into the game again. And as you can see now, I figured it out pretty well, got myself up to a power level 124, and I went from a power level 79 to a power level 124 in 2 weeks. It was just an easy process. Like, definitely research the game and just figure out the best strategies for farming evolution materials and the things you need, which I'll probably make a video on that here soon, because a lot of people are going to need to know that with the large amount of new players coming into the game. But this has honestly been just, 5 things I would have liked to know when I first started playing the game, because I didn't have anyone to tell me. I didn't look this game up on YouTube, I wasn't focused on it, I really didn't know anything. But I also wanted to play the game because at the time I enjoyed Battle Royale, and I was one of the people just looking for V-Bucks. And then the more I played, I really started to enjoy the game. But yeah, I'm not gonna waste time with some big outro or tell you to subscribe or whatnot. But I would like to say that we're sitting at 45 subscribers right now. As soon as we hit 50, I'll be doing a I'm sorry. I'll be doing a military weapon giveaway where I'll be giving away a 144 Nocturno, 130 Bald Eagle, 130 Bobcat, Ground Pounder, Hacksaw, Lynx, Wraith, Tiger, Silent Spectre, Quad Launcher, Obliterator, and a double element, which is not an incredibly rare thing now, especially with the crossplay available, and there's a lot of modded guns in the game, but it's still something really cool just to have as a collector's item. But we only need 5 more subscribers, and as soon as we hit that, all you have to do is be subscribed and comment either I am or I just did subscribe along with your epic games in the comments of this video, so that way I'm able to put all your names into a random generator and pick the winner. But I'm not going to waste anyone else's time any further, and I just want to say, if you did make it this far, thank you for watching.